stopping and pulling it in.
You do?
Give me my bait, dude.
What do you?
I'm taking one more fucking Huck'em Chuck'em Robots.
Are you recording now? Finally.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to talk about specifically on the podcast?
I mean, no, I figured I'd talk about, kind of the jiu-jitsu scene in Peru. I don't know. I also thought I think black belt for me has been a lot about teaching because I've had my first, I teach every day.
Yeah.
And I have complete control over the curriculum, which is something I didn't have at Gracie Baja.
Yeah.
So
that's nice.
Talk a little bit about traveling and doing jiu-jitsu,
All right.
Sick.
Okay. So
we're live on Facebook, BT Dubs. I think our voices need to be turned up a little bit.
Really?
Yeah. Just a little bit. Nothing crazy.
Okay.
Chris, I'm the guest.
Yeah, he's the guest.
Yeah, I mean you will have a higher volume than all of us. So
okay. All right, what's up, guys? This is Justin with the TwinJitsu podcast,
and this is Chris with the Disaster podcast.
It took us quite a long time to finally get this Skype interview set up, and hopefully it'll sound good the whole time. But just bear with us. We're still white belts at this podcast thing.
Yeah. So we have a guest today who is in a third world country across the globe. We have Professor Drew Peterson. Say what's
going on, guys? Here from the deep south.
The deep south.
The dirty
What's
south.
the weather like there right now?
Well, we're leaving winter and going into spring, so I mean, we have like sunny days, but you still gotta wear like a sweater or a hoodie,
That's so weird, dude.
A
Because
poncho.
we're like in the summer right now, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're below the equator, so I mean, seasons are flipped.
But there's no time difference, right? It's 6 o'clock where you're at.
Yeah, that's super convenient. I'm not gonna lie, for being from Nashville,
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no time difference.
How long have you lived there now?
I got here June 2016, and so that means I've been here 2 years and 2 months.
That's crazy.
Pretty much.
How long have you had your black belt now?
I got my black belt, and I can remember the date. December 27th. So. Yeah, 2017. So, I mean, like a year and a half now. I'm still freshy.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I thought it was longer than that.
Oh, yeah, because you got it when you came back to visit, right? You had lived there for a few months, and you came back to visit or something? No?
Yeah, so I lived there exactly. So I lived there for 6 months, and then when I came back, Professor surprised me. He had it like Professor Reggie. He had it all. He was even talking with the owner of the gym down here.
Oh, really?
Who had also recently he got his black belt right before I did, and they were communicating, and like the whole time he was like, "Drew's training, right? Making sure that I'm still training, being consistent." And then when I got there, he had me teach like a special class, and then surprised me, with my faixa preta.
There you go. So I guess we'll kind of get into. I kind of don't know where to start.
Well, I would say briefly we can just give a history on how we know Drew,
and we kind of talked about this in another podcast. But yeah.
We met Drew when we were like 15 or 16, playing music and stuff. And then we went to Franklin High School and had mutual friends, and just over the years, we weren't super close or anything, but we knew each other and we would be around. Were you guys in a band together or no?
No, he was. I was in Chiasmata, but he wasn't in that.
Yeah,
I was. Well, I turned. What happened with the funny thing? You guys were in Chiasmata, and that turned into the later group Diga.
Yeah,
which I was in that. I replaced the original bass player, so I mean there was a musical connection there. You know?
And then you had been training jiu-jitsu already before
like 3 years.
Yeah, and before I had started, and then once I started training jiu-jitsu, somehow because you were training somewhere else, but we reconnected, and I told the story on the podcast where I got mats, and then one time I invited you over. You came in. I think you came to the school once and trained, but I had mats, and you came and trained and kicked my ass, and then yeah, that was fun.
Oh man, it was pretty funny. The first time I actually went to the school, I think I was still a blue belt. I was like
Yeah,
a
you were a
recent
blue belt.
purple belt, and we did a no-gi class, and I fought Professor Reggie for the first time, and he said I had cat jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
That's how he described my he was like, yeah, you go real slow, and then you explode like a cat. I was like, I don't know how to take that, Professor.
Yeah, and yeah, it was you were kind of incognito too because no one there really knew that you trained. Um,
Oh, and he was in no-gi stuff.
yeah,
Yeah,
That's funny.
and I'm like a skinny guy, so I don't look, very intimidating. And then, whatcha?
How's,
And our school was really young at that time, so the highest belt we had was a blue belt, right?
yeah, no,
Yeah, I
no, there
remember
were-
there's
maybe
Maybe
like a
Dan.
no, Dan wasn't there yet. It was a long time ago.
Mhm.
Was this when you
yeah.
started training at Gracie Baja
No,
Franklin?
no,
Oh,
no,
you just
no.
came to visit.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
he was training in Murfreesboro at the time.
Yep, I was training at Garden still.
How did you get into jiu-jitsu? You want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah, so I got into jiu-jitsu because of my brother. He was in college in Murfreesboro, and I was still, I think I was a junior. And he had been talking to me a couple months about this, like the most efficient martial art, called jiu-jitsu. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. And he started like showing me UFC, and some videos online, and he got me interested. And I went to Murfreesboro, and basically, this was in 2008, and it was just on these wrestling mats outside this guy's house. And the guy was this tall, he looked like muscular, but he's a little bit overweight. And I was bigger than my brother, so anytime we had ever roughhouse, I always had like the upper hand. And my brother just handed it to me. He just destroyed me. He took me down. He pulled guard and armbarred me, everything. And that's where I kind of got hooked. And then from there I started training at this karate gym, because in Franklin and Nashville there were some black belts, but no one. I think his name was Eric Paulson, was the only guy I knew of, but there was no black belt that was teaching regularly at a school. And so I didn't know any better, so I started training MMA at this karate gym for like 6 months. And then I was also washing dishes at this restaurant.
The
One of my good friends,
Mercantile.
Corey, at the Mercantile. And this is where aside from my brother, because he was training some legitimate jiu-jitsu, but he was away at college, so I only got to see him every couple months. And the owner, my manager, and one of my good friend Corey Cons, who's a wrestler, and he trained jiu-jitsu for a long time under a blue belt and a purple belt at this restaurant. But they had a club where they would train Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu. And my boss was the guy who ran the club, and he said, "Hey, I heard you're training my friend Dan over at that karate school. He and some other guys, we on Tuesday nights we get together and do some jiu-jitsu. You want to come and hang?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I was doing pretty well at the karate school. I was average, and I knew some submissions, and the scissor sweep, and I felt pretty cool. And I went in there, and this night, just this particular night, no one showed up. It was just my boss and me. And my boss, once again, was the short guy, skinny. And I thought, well, I'm bigger than him. I've been training, and he's been training for a number of years, but I'll hold my own. And I mean, I tapped like a typewriter. And that's when and he wasn't even ranked. He was just training under this purple belt.
So you guys were training at the Mercantile?
Yeah, we just spread out
okay.
it was at a restaurant called the Mercantile in Franklin. And we just spread out all the tables and put down like the tile mats, and started from knees. And that's when I started searching. So I started training at like different Taekwondo schools and karate schools that said they had ranked people. And that's where I eventually ended up at Nashville MMA. I trained under Sean Hammonds for a while. And then when I went to college in Murfreesboro, I trained under Professor Doug Frazier for a while, who I got my blue belt and purple belt under. and then I went over to Gracie Baja where I finished it out with you guys.
That's pretty cool because it's like, I don't know, you've been training a long time, and you kind of, like you said, like there wasn't really a whole lot of jiu-jitsu when you first started, so you kind of got that like underground, like almost like how I envision like starting jiu-jitsu in like the early 90s would have been like in California and
Like
stuff
out of
like
a
that.
garage or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky that I'm happy like I kind of had that experience. But one real advantage that I had, it was like when I started, it was right at the beginning when jiu-jitsu hit YouTube, but it was not good jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You know, it was just like, did you guys ever watch Submissions 101?
Yeah, with the Ari guy or whatever.
Yeah, and he would have Eddie Bravo. I mean, Eddie Bravo's and he's got some decent jiu-jitsu, but he's a pretty, polemic guy in jiu-jitsu.
That's a word I don't know.
Yeah, same here. You're gonna have to enlighten us there, Drew.
Is that Spanish?
There's a lot of variety of opinions on him.
Okay.
So I was like learning rubber guard, and I got pretty lucky. What caught me, what I think really helped my jiu-jitsu a lot, I just watched tons and tons of matches, and that was what the good thing was. And now I think that was pretty cool because everyone I talked to, they would talk about like having to like look for VHS and stuff like that. And so and it was also awesome because it was before flow grappling and the kind of, you can't, everything, like every ADCC, every Worlds match was just on YouTube. Pirated.
So would you search for something in like particular or a person in particular, or would you just try and find as many matches as you could and watch those?
My whole thing, and I don't know if someone told me this. I don't think it was my idea, but my whole thing was I only liked watching champions. I always thought to myself, like, if I want good, if I want to watch good jiu-jitsu and I want to learn good techniques, like I need to watch people that have used them in competition, and that's how I know they're going to work.
You were an elitist.
And so, yeah. Which obviously, I mean, I've changed that opinion since now, but that was always my idea. So I watched, and the first guy I really got into was Marcelo Garcia.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a super huge fan of Marcelo, especially like his 2009, 2011 ACC runs. Were incredible. So I mean, that was kind of my start.
So were you kind of more into like no-gi or at the beginning, or kind of both?
I was, because I was also into MMA. I mean, I thought I wanted to do MMA for maybe 1 or 2 years. I was even training boxing twice a week at Nashville Resource Center, which was they did like Olympic style boxing, but I got this private guy to teach me sports style, and I would train boxing at like 5, and then at 7 I would go train jiu-jitsu, and then my senior year I just trained with the wrestling team in the afternoons like 2 or 3 times a week. I was totally obsessed.
Dang.
So when I first started in 2009.
Let's talk about this because I kind of thought about this because you like we talked about, you were in bands and you played bass. You're really, really good bass player. And then when did you because you kind of just stopped playing? Like, was it because you got so obsessed with jiu-jitsu, it just like fell by the wayside, or was there like a conscious decision to stop playing music, or, what kind of happened with that?
No, I definitely just fell by the wayside. I was playing like this pop punk band called Stick Figure with some of our friends. The band, I mean, we stopped being active, and I started getting into jiu-jitsu, and it just, I mean, like I said, in, early 2009 is when I started, and I just got obsessed. I would spend every night, 2-3 hours watching. I would watch jiu-jitsu until I fell asleep every night. And it just fell by the wayside until the end of my senior year going into summer. And that's when I got into another band, Diga. And that's where it kind of like, I kind of equaled out like jiu-jitsu time and music time. But it was interesting. The only hiatus I ever had from jiu-jitsu was because of music.
Yeah.
I started studying jazz music in college, and I decided that that I needed to like focus 100% on music, and so I stopped doing jiu-jitsu for 9 months. Worst decision ever. Even if I wanted to completely focus on music, I should have kept doing jiu-jitsu like 3 times a week because there's a number of factors, but I think not doing jiu-jitsu, not exercising. I mean, I got depressed and my life was totally unbalanced. I was just completely focused on music. It was super unhealthy. So yeah, guys, don't quit jiu-jitsu. Always at least
Especially
keep it
for
as a
jazz.
hobby. Yeah,
I hate
especially
jazz,
if you're a
dude.
music school student.
Jazz is stupid.
But in the
Jiu-jitsu is
beginning,
way
man,
better than jazz.
but in the beginning, man, there's definitely a battle. I think that's probably something you can relate to, Justin. There's definitely always a battle in my life between music and jiu-jitsu. Always.
Yeah. No, I mean, like we've talked about before, music was always on my brain. I was always thinking about like new things to try or new music to make. Like I would come home from work and just make music. But then it was funny because like eventually I just got so obsessed with jiu-jitsu and wanted to do jiu-jitsu. It like was this weird conundrum I was in of like, well, I want to do music. Like that was my I didn't want to let go. And I remember at one point that I can't even hear myself now, Chris. What did you just do?
Keep talking, dude.
At one point, I was not making, like, I think I went like a few months without making music, and I in an attempt, and I was just watching so much jujitsu, like you said, I was watching competition videos all the time, and I convinced myself that somehow like I could combine the two. And so I was like I would put jujitsu on the computer and then try and make music while watching jujitsu, which didn't really work out. But it was because I didn't want to like, I don't know, didn't want to let go of making music. But eventually I just was like, all right, well, jujitsu is what I want to do now. So that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, man. I mean, in the end, for me, jiu-jitsu won. I don't make music anymore. But there's only so much time in the day. You know?
That's what I'm realizing the older we get, dude. It's like, man, I don't understand how some people find the time to dedicate themselves to 3 things, you know.
Cocaine. And
work, you know, job. It's insane. Yeah, I guess I could try cocaine.
Yeah, dude. If you do a little cocaine, like, and as long as you're doing something productive after you do coke, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on what your purpose is, you know? I mean, I think some people can do 3 things because maybe 1 or 2 of those things is just to have fun, release some stress, or maybe to like socialize, like if you play like rec soccer or like you guys do hockey, you know, it's to get some exercise and to hang out, but you're really not trying to progress in the hobby or the sport.
No, but I definitely am though. That's the problem. I'm trying to get. I mean, obviously,
Chris thinks he would make the fucking NHL next year.
Do not. No, I do not. But I do want to get good. Like I want to be able to compete. Like I mean, I'm gonna join a league and I want to be able to compete. But there's a part of me that's like, man, my jiu-jitsu is gonna suffer if I try and increase my hockey. You know. I mean, I'm trying to find the balance.
Man, and but that's the tough mental battle. I mean, that was the battle between like Justin and me suffered like between music and jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you have this, and for me also it was like self-identity. Like,
yeah,
you know,
100%.
Drew the bass player.
Yeah.
And then in jiu-jitsu, like it is also because I mean I'm living in Franklin, you know, living in Tennessee, and no one knows what jiu-jitsu is. And that was another thing also about starting jiu-jitsu in 2008, 2009, was in California, jiu-jitsu was booming. I mean, 2008, that's when the Mendez hit the scene with the Berimbolo. You know, X-Guard was happening in 2009. Marcelo busted that out, was killing everybody. So, I mean, jiu-jitsu was still, like, definitely live and running in California and Brazil. But in Tennessee, like I said, I couldn't find any black belts until Sean Hammonds got promoted in 2008.
Dang, I didn't realize it was that soon. I thought Nashville MMA had been around for 20 years or something.
No, dude.
No, I mean, Ed Clay had his black belt, but he wasn't actively teaching. He was more the business side.
So who did Sean Hammonds get his black belt from?
Lloyd Irving.
Oh, okay. Was he training?
If that's correct, sorry, Sean, if you listen to this and I'm telling your history wrong.
No, I think you're right. But was he training out there, or
No, I think it was probably like
he was a brown belt
Yeah,
and
yeah.
needed a head instructor or whatever?
I think so, probably.
Yeah. Well, he would go out there for periods of time to train with Lloyd Irvin, his team. So I mean,
that's so crazy to think, because you know, I started jiu-jitsu in 2012, and it was pretty up and coming. I mean, Joe Rogan is the 100% reason why I started training, but to think that when you started training that there was only like less than a handful of black belts in Tennessee is so crazy to me.
Yeah. I mean, I think Franklin as a market is like made for jiu-jitsu. I mean, it's
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean, I think once it hit Franklin, you know, like Brentwood BJJ was there, and Josh and and Reggie, Professor Reggie came in with Gracie Baja. I mean, obviously, I mean, how many places are there in Franklin now? You know, they had
there's a lot now.
Yeah,
I mean, because it's tailor made. I mean, like jiu-jitsu's hip, like it's like a fun, cool way to exercise. You know, and it's also family friendly.
Yeah.
It's got, you know, it's great for the kids, which is perfect for Franklin. So I mean, I think market wise, Franklin was tailor made. So the development, I'm not surprised it hit, but I mean, it took a couple years.
Yeah, for sure.
It's still nowhere near like the bursting of the bubble, if you will, the jiu-jitsu bubble.
Yeah, man. I've never been to California. I mean, I would like to. It's definitely on the not because like I've been to California, the state, but like go to their train and a gym hop because I hear like every corner there's a legend.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
You were breathing heavy, Chris. Cool. So, well, there's so many things I want to talk about. So let's
talk about the present.
Yeah, kind of fast forward to you moving to Peru. Why did you move to Peru?
Well, I moved.
All right, that's enough time we have for that question. No, but yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Thought you cared. No. So I at that point in my life in 2016, I had ended a long relationship with the girl I was dating. I wasn't happy in my job I'd been at for a year and a half, and really my career choice in general. I wasn't making a lot of money. I had to keep living in my parents' house, and I mean that's not the worst thing in the world at all. But I wanted independence, and I wasn't happy with my job. And so basically, I just got the idea in my head. I was like, man, I've been to Peru in 2014. I did some volunteering there, and I'm also super into languages. And so I was like, I want to do a career change. And one of my friends had mentioned teaching English, and I thought to myself, I was like, holy crap, that's right up my alley. I like languages. I want to move back to South America, and my at the time friend and now wife, I was talking to her a whole lot through Messenger and through Skype, and she helped set me up with a place. And
did you know her from when you were there before, right?
Yeah, I met her in 2014 when I was volunteering. Okay. She's a therapist, and she was just finishing up her internship at the place I was volunteering at, which was it was like a community it's like a rehabilitation center for drug addicted street children. Pretty light stuff.
Yeah. Wait, how old were you when you met her?
I was 24.
He was a drug addicted.
Yeah, I
street
wasn't
children.
paying attention. I heard 14 that you met.
No, 2014.
Oh, okay.
2014. And yeah, so she set me up with a place. I came down here. I got some quick education and teaching English. Got a job, and yeah, man. And that's how the story began.
So are you still teaching English?
Yep. I don't teach English in Peru anymore, actually. I taught at an institute for 9 months. And then I found out that you could teach online and make even more money. And so I got a job working for a Chinese company teaching children English. So yeah, man, I teach from my home every day.
Do you teach Chinese kids English?
Yep.
That's so bizarre. You went to Peru to
Yeah.
teach Chinese kids English online.
So you don't have to know Chinese?
No, I mean, what's funny about that, Justin, man, is when I took my like English certificate course, they offered a bunch of online advanced courses, and one of them was teaching online. And I thought to myself, I was like, I would never want to teach online. And then I saw that, you know, I could make dollars and I can make more money.
Pesos.
And so I said, hell, like I got to give it a try. And it all worked out. And to answer your question, Chris, no, I don't know I just know how to say hello, how are you in Chinese, but they want you to only teach in English. It's an immersion program.
That's crazy, man.
I need to do that.
So how many are you doing that 40 hours a week or?
So no, you guys know who Tim Ferriss is, right?
Yeah. So you work 4 hours a week and you're good?
No, I work not including jiu-jitsu, I work 15 hours a week.
Oh, okay.
So
is the cost of living in Peru like super low, I would assume?
Yeah, it's incredibly lower than the United States, but it's that way because of the conversion rate. You know, their money is called the sol or soles, and so that's.
You sure it's not pesos?
Positive.
Okay.
Positive. And so it's 3.2 soles. You're messing with me. I was about to say pesos. 3.2 soles to the dollar. So I mean, your money multiplies by 3 and some change.
Dang.
Yeah. So I play what I call the conversion game, and I can work low hours and I can make a decent living.
Because you get paid in USD, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah,
That's
I got a dollars account here, and they send it to me. You know, they actually have to wire it through America, but I get it all the way from China. I'm an American living in Peru, working for a Chinese company.
Dude,
That's
you're
funny.
Cultured as fuck, bro.
Yeah, bro.
You're way cultured.
So
than us.
2019, you're super woke, man.
I'm woke.
So you do that, and then you teach jujitsu as well right now.
Yeah, so I teach jiu-jitsu. So when I got down here, my buddy Joey Torres, you guys know him.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention him in the beginning of the podcast when you were talking about you wanting to do MMA, because I guess he's going to be fighting. He has an MMA fight for like November or something.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I'm really excited for him for that.
Yeah, he was always a killer on the mats for sure.
Oh yeah, man. No, he's gonna do great. But anyway, Joey was the reason why I got hooked up. He sent me an article from Jiu-Jitsu Times that there was an interview of the gym owner that I started training at in 2016 that I'm still with right now, and his name is Italo Eneas. And he's
what's that in English?
Italo is Italo.
Okay.
You don't translate names.
I know. I'm kidding.
Yeah, and so he's a black belt under Kishinyo, and basically, I mean, I like ours a whole lot because their whole thing is there's no creontes. You know, there's no traitors. So I mean, people from other associations can come and train, and there's no bad blood. There's no questions.
There's no
about,
politics.
Loyalty.
Yeah.
There's no politics.
Yeah, that's how I wish jiu-jitsu was. I mean, there's some politics I understand, but I don't know. I think people should be able to train where they want. I mean, obviously, I believe you should have to have a head instructor, but if you want to go train at another gym, you should be able to.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what I mean, because they welcome you with open arms. And I mean, dude, he's even like accommodated me. So I trained there, you know, in their morning class and in their night class until May of 2017, and I need to start training in the afternoon, but they didn't have an afternoon class because Italo, he's the only now there's some other upper belts, but at the time there's only purple belts and there's him, the black belt, and there was me, but I was just training morning and night because I would work nights when I didn't have to teach at night, and this is still when I was teaching at a local English institute, but I would mainly train in the mornings. I didn't have any other time because I would teach in the afternoons and the evenings because I was teaching adults. And so I got this job with the Chinese company. But so the catch with working for the Chinese company is you work on the Chinese schedule, and they're 13 hours ahead.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
teach from 6 in the morning until 9 in the morning every day, or from Monday to Friday. And so I need to start training in the afternoon. So, I mean, he let me open up an afternoon class, you know, he basically hired me. And he lets me run my own curriculum and teach the afternoon class, which has been super killer for me because that still lets me train. And it's also, I really fall in love with teaching. And so it's just been a killer opportunity.
There's a few questions there's a lot of questions I want to ask, but as far as like teaching goes, because you were teaching a lot before you went to Peru. You were teaching what, 2 or 3 days a week at Gracie Baja.
Mm-hmm.
Have there been like differences that you've noticed in teaching? Like obviously you know Spanish, but is there a difference in teaching like English to Spanish?
Oh yeah, I mean, language-wise is a huge learning curve for me because the language, like the vocabulary, just the vocabulary you use in English, in Spanish, like the words for movement are totally different, totally different.
Right.
You know, and so I was like, I was totally talking like a caveman, you know, for a moment. I was like grab, and I didn't know the word for sleeve, so I'd be like, I would just like grab and point at it, you know,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't know how to describe something, and I would be like, you know, how do you say? And I would do the movement over and over again until someone knew. Unless sometimes there's some people that they spoke English and so they could help me out.
So that probably obviously helped your Spanish a little bit, but do you think that helped your jiu-jitsu, like kind of having to um be more simple, I guess, in your teaching?
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. For sure, because I could only teach a select amount of details.
Right.
And so I would, in the beginning, like before I would go to class, I would be planning the class and thinking about the techniques. I would I would have to, like, before I went to class, I couldn't just go in there and wing it because I wouldn't know the vocabulary, and so I would have to think about it beforehand or study a little bit. And so it really helped me think about the details and what are the most important details. So it was definitely a killer experience. And funny thing also, what really does help though is that Spanish, because in most Spanish speaking countries except for Cuba, there's no wrestling. There's not many grappling sports. I mean, there's some judo in Brazil. So the language isn't developed. Like there's no word for underhook or overhook.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and there's
So
no
I'm assuming
word.
you just say underhook and overhook then?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And for instance, there's no word, you know, for swimming your arms or swimming your legs. And so they actually use a Portuguese word, which is escrimar.
Escrimar.
What does that mean in English? Do you know?
Like when you're gonna pummel,
Like
you know, like pummel
pummeling?
your arms,
Okay,
like
yeah.
pummel the underhook,
Yeah.
or like you want to like throw in a leg lasso, so you know you pummel your leg or you swim your leg. That word doesn't. They don't have a word for that in Spanish because they don't have the sport. You know, the word pummel it is, you know, we use in grappling. I don't know any other context in which I've used that word.
Yeah.
And so it helped. That also was really helpful because sometimes I'd be like, "Hey guys, you know what's the word for this?" And they're like, "I don't know. Just use the English word." Yeah, so that was it was really, you know, it was a fun experience.
So, you said you had to make like it's your own curriculum. How did you go about uh, creating your own curriculum? And do you have like week by week uh, lessons, or like how's your setup for that stuff?
Well, this is a great thing I do in Skype. I can actually open it up. So I've always been a jiu-jitsu nerd.
Let's just
Like
say
I'm
a nerd. That's what you've
a
always
nerd. Yeah, I'm a nerd for sure.
which is awesome.
And then a subcategory, I'm a jiu-jitsu nerd. And so I've always, like, I've done studies. So like I remember I did I've done. I did a 50-50 guard study. I did a judo study. I did a spider guard study. These are from 6 years ago.
And you
And
have like, so what do you mean? Like you took notes on videos and stuff like that?
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
And you
So
say you have all that material saved?
Yeah, I have all that material. I have Word documents with links to the video, and I put them in order, like a reaction or grips, however my mind was working at that time. And so when I was told, he was like, yeah, the curriculum's yours, man. I got super excited, and I set it up by positions. So what I did is, I'm actually about to change this, but what we did in the beginning was I would do I had a beginner. I just had this full curriculum at first, and I would have closed guard top 1 week, closed guard bottom the next week, half guard top 1 week, half guard bottom, etc.
Yeah.
And then later I split it into a beginners and advanced curriculum. And then I have other parts, like we would do. I would do a whole week also, like is a rotation, so I just 1 week every position, top bottom. And then there's 2 weeks of submission escapes, because I think that's a really ignored part about jiu-jitsu.
For sure.
And it's something that I really ignored really up until brown belt. I mean, I knew the basic escapes, but I sucked at them, and I never focused on them. I was a big IBJJF guy for pretty much, once again, up until brown belt. So I just focused on sweeps, passes, and back takes. And I pull guard, throughout from white until brown belt. And I set up we do one takedown every day. So I set up my wrestler, my wrestling style takedowns, just the basics though. Single leg, double leg, high crouch,
like
ankle
the suplex.
pick.
Yeah, like the soup, like
Yeah,
the RKO or whatever it's called.
The double overhook suplex.
Sick.
And then the basic judo, Ipponse Nagi, Tomanagi, etc. And then some guard pulls, because I do think they're important. And yeah, man, I just started playing, and adding to it over time. And I had a lot of fun thinking about it, deep half guard or half guard. I realized, well, there's deep half guard, there's half guard with a butterfly hook, there's inverted half guard, and how do I fit that in there? And I just nerded out hard on it, and yeah.
So
that's my curriculum.
Like if say 1 week is closed guard from the bottom, are you teaching sweep or submission, a different one every day, or are you kind of focusing on two specific techniques that you teach between, like one day you teach scissor sweep, next day you teach scissor sweep, and then the next 2 days you teach the same triangle, or how does that work?
Yeah. So there's kind of, yeah. So this is so I kind of think about it in 3 ways. So you have your curriculum, you have your class schedule, and then you have what you teach, right? So I just explain the majority of my curriculum. So then you have your class schedule, or like your weekend class schedule, actually. So the week we used to do it, we do 4 days gi, 2 days beginner, 2 days advanced, and then 1 no-gi class. And then the class schedule, we played with it a lot. So that's been great.
Are there 2 classes that you're teaching in 1 day?
No. Just one class,
oh, okay.
One class a week, And so then I have my class schedule. And so I first started teaching just like normal BJJ classes, 2-3 techniques and then sparring. And then the whole, I'm sure you guys are hip to the new trend that's been kind of hit when I got down here, is the whole John Danaher no-gi leg lock stuff and his style of teaching, which I was pretty interested in him for a while. I started listening to the way he talked about teaching, and so then and also talking about Joe Rogan, Ben Askerson came out and talked about how BJJ schools are doing it all wrong, and talked about some of his how he likes to do classes. And I thought, he's right. And I had some guys competing, and so we started playing with the classes. And so what I started doing was I would teach 2 techniques, and we would do them all week long.
Yeah, I like
You
that.
know, I would teach 2 techniques on the ground. We do them all week long, and we do one the takedown we'd actually do for a whole month, just one takedown, for a while, and we would play with that schedule. And generally no-gi day was just for fun. Everyone wanted to learn leg locks, and so I would just, and I was a beginner, still am a beginner at leg locks, and so we just have fun with that. And so that we did that for a while, but what I noticed is that jiu-jitsu is pretty, they always talk about jiu-jitsu is endless, right? Which is true. So what would happen is they would only have so if I taught, let's say the hip bumps, you go to the hip bump sweep and then you go to Kimura, that's a basic sequence. So what happens is
Wait, hold on. Let me write that down real quick. You said
Chris,
hip bump?
Chris needs to memorize that one.
Anyway,
so
sorry.
what would happen, if you're thinking competitors, they might block your first 2 attacks.
Yeah.
And so what would happen is we would change the position every week, so they would only learn, technique A and technique B. They would never learn technique C, technique D, etc. And so that's something that what I've started doing, what I started doing, I'll talk about what I've been doing the past couple months. What I started doing was I stopped, teaching the same techniques the whole week, and what I would do is that I would teach 2 techniques, and then the next day I would teach the sequence, right? So I would maybe be like a 4 technique sequence, technique A, B, C, D, based on reactions. And we would do that for 2 weeks. So you get all the repetitions, but you get all that, you get a good feel for the position, and you learn a lot of knowledge, and you get your repetition. And that's in regards to the gi, that's where we've been. But actually the last 2.5 months we've been doing pure no-gi just for fun.
So that's all you're doing is just no-gi?
Just this week we put the gi back on. But yeah, the past 2.5 months, man, we've been doing pure no-gi.
That's cool.
Was it weird putting the gi back on?
Yeah, because the first time I put the gi on, I was at a Kishinya seminar this weekend, and my first fight in the gi coming back from 2.5 months was him.
Oh God.
He just smashed me.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, but it's to be honest, man, putting the gi back on though, it's like coming back home. I love the gi, I always will, and that's where the vast majority of my training's been. So, but it was super refreshing doing no gi. My students got really enamored with John Danaher, so they actually bought his DVD and gave it to me to learn.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
I could teach it. And so yeah, I've been learning it and coming into class teaching it, and just doing a bunch of specific training, in the Ashigurami system, and then just doing a lot of wrestling too. I got really interested in wrestling, so we've been doing one wrestling takedown for a whole week. We just change them every week.
So you mentioned when we first did the Facebook Live and you were in the comments, we didn't see any of the comments till after the video, but you brought up something about what it's been like adapting to training with less experienced people. So I just wanted to see if you wanted to elaborate on how you've dealt with that. Because currently at Gracie Baja Franklin, I mean, dude, we have some blue belts, but we have 3 or 4 purple belts, 3 or 4 brown belts, and 2 black belts. And dude, we have so many white belts right now. So I was just interested on what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, man. So when I first got here, that wasn't an issue because I was training in the bigger classes, and there's Italo there. He's the other black belt, and there's another brown belt, and there's a bunch of purple belts. So it wasn't an issue. But I started teaching my own class, and I was the only black belt. And I think I had 1 purple belt training with me at the beginning, and everyone else is white and blue belts. And so it was. So I'm not original at all. I copy everything from everybody. So this was something that I learned from a Gary Tonin interview. So he said, when he trains, especially with, lower belts, he will either put himself in bad situations or purposely practice bad techniques or positions, and openly get tapped by lower belts and just not worry about it. Because if he just goes to his A game, it's not going to be used for him. He's not going to expand his jiu-jitsu. And so I would take that mentality, and what I would do is I would come into class with generally either a goal, like I want to pull off one technique and this is the only technique I'm going to do or attempt to do. And I would even like say it was like a technique from De La Riva, like say I had a guy had a really good cut through and he kept pushing me to half guard or pushing me to reverse De La Riva. I would just continuously go back to De La Riva and try to reset up my grips. And if I wouldn't sweep the whole class, I wouldn't get on top of the whole class, but that was like I would just work that technique. And then later I started just having guys put me in side control or put me in an arm bar or take my back, and that's what I would do the whole class.
Would you have them like start like that, or would you kind of give them the position? Like
I would have them start like that.
Okay.
So I actually have a memory of you. I can't remember if it was a class or open mat, but I was just walking into the gym and you were already partnered up with somebody, and I can't remember what position it was, but you asked him like, hey,
probably donkey guard.
Yeah. You were like, hey, can you start mounted on me? And I was like, what the fuck is Drew doing? I mean, obviously I was still new in jiu-jitsu. I was probably a blue belt, maybe a white belt, but I was just like, that was the first time I've seen someone ask to be put in a bad position and start from there.
Oh yeah.
It was weird.
And oh yeah, man. I mean, to be honest, now that I think about it, I actually learned this from the restaurant owner, the guy where I found my real taste of jiu-jitsu, back at the Mercantile. He actually
I like how you said how you found your taste for jiu-jitsu at the restaurant. Did you say that, man? Or did I make that up in my head? I think you said that.
I think I said that.
Okay. Okay, sorry.
But one thing he told me to do when I was a white belt and I was just getting smashed all the time, because it kills your ego, and that's why a lot of people quit. He would tell me, he said, man, just don't let someone open your guard. Let that be your goal. Because if you make your goal to beat up the bigger guy or the blue belt, that's never going to happen. It's like, you going up someone who's been playing basketball for 5 years and you've been playing for 2 months and saying, I'm going to beat you, one-on-one. It's not going to happen. And so he would tell me your goal should be just, don't let your guard get open, don't let your guard get past. And Gary, I took that mentality into training here, and man, I still get good quality training. And every once in a while I train with other upper belts, like I still feel good. I still feel my technique sharp. You kind of have to work on your timing, but my technique still feels sharp.
Good. Yeah, it's kind of like setting little tiny goals for yourself. But I remember you always doing that, kind of like at open mats, having us do like certain specific training, which I think doesn't get done a lot. I think a lot of people, they go to class, they learn these techniques, and then when specific training or rolling time comes, they just go into fight or flight mode, and they don't even like practice or try any of the moves that you learned like half an hour before. And it's like you're never gonna get it if you don't try the things you were just learning, or try what you've been working on yourself.
Oh yeah, man, I totally agree. Specific training is huge. I recently, the other day, we stopped specific training for a while, just out of laziness, and I went back to it. And I feel like in one class, I feel like I really developed a position just because we did specific training, and it's vital because it's part of the learning process in jiu-jitsu. You can learn a technique in drilling, but that's just it stays kind of as information. It's not an ability yet. It's not your game yet until you start trying it in sparring and it transfers there. It's a 2-part process.
That was well put. Because I usually hate specific training, but.
Oh yeah, man, it sucks.
How
you got to do it.
How are you finding the balance between, like, I know you said you have a real passion for teaching. How are you finding the balance between developing your jiu-jitsu and also having like the
responsibility of developing others jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, that what he said.
So that it's a tough balance. I mean, it definitely, I complain about it in my students, when there's an even number of or there's an odd number of people in class, I get to get in and drill. Basically, you got to find drilling time. That's the biggest thing. You got to find drilling time for your own techniques. And that's the biggest thing.
Justin just took a sip of the last sip of his coffee, and it was all coffee grounds.
Yeah, it was all grounds. I had to spit it out.
Oh, it's the worst, man. Ugh.
Whoever made that coffee is grounded.
You're a fucking idiot, dude.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's the biggest. But you also have the responsibility to others. I mean, as I said, like I started focusing on escapes and of submission escapes, and like for instance, my Kimura escape sucked.
Yeah, I remember I used to get you in that all the time. I'm just kidding.
Man, and well, Justin, I mean, you still have to this day you have the most impossible guard.
No, it's gotten way worse.
You haven't rolled with this guy in a while.
You'll pass
watch out.
Have you been? You got a belly now, Justin? You've been taking time off?
I don't have a belly. I don't train as much.
He's
and
218 pounds.
Relax, dude. Yeah, I don't know. My guard's still good. Come on, relax. But yeah.
Well, but anyway, that's it. I mean, you just have the responsibility to learn techniques, to come in and give. You have to give a well-rounded class and curriculum. I have this one student that he's a blue belt, but he didn't really have a game. He was one of these guys that his guard wasn't really developed. He would grab random grips.
Are you talking about Chris?
Yeah, I was about to say I still do that.
Yeah, Chris he goes in, closes his eyes, grabs the first thing he can.
Dude, I do. I catch myself because my eyes are so bad, and there's times like, especially if I'm just in the zone, like just flowing, I'll be like, motherfucker, open your eyes, dude, because I'll just have my eyes closed.
All right, let him finish. We keep
sorry.
But that's totally like ancient kung fu style, training in the dark.
Yeah.
But anyway, and he so as I told you guys, I'm not really a takedown guy. I wasn't. I like takedowns now. But I started training some judo in brown belt just to know it, just for knowledge. Never really use it in my game. And when I got here, like I said, I started training wrestling, or at least trying to learn it. And I started doing that, learning judo and wrestling a lot more heavily here, because I can't just teach everyone to pull guard. Not everyone's going to be a guard player. And people are going to want people also have different needs for jiu-jitsu depending on what kind of competition they're going to be in. And also if they do it for self-defense. If you do it for self-defense, you can't be pulling guard, right? You got to know how to take people down or not be taken down. And it was crazy because this guy, he didn't, his guard wasn't really the best. He had some decent pressure on top. And I taught him a single leg, and takedowns are his thing now. He's been training with me for over a year, and he loves wrestling. He loves takedowns. He totally takes people down. He's got great top pressure now, and he's got a game.
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
Even though it's not my game, I realized that when you teach and you prepare your own curriculum, you have a responsibility to teach everything in jiu-jitsu, not just your game.
Yeah.
And so that was a big moment for me when I was like, whoa, I helped someone develop their game.
Well, and soon he's going to be just like taking you down too, which helps you because it helps your takedown defense and, all that.
Dude, no, he totally takes me down. And it sucks because I teach him everything I know.
Yeah.
And so I have like 1 week where I have like an edge on him, and then he gets better than me again.
It's funny.
It's just, yeah. Because I'm still learning. I'm totally, maybe a blue belt now, but totally probably still a white belt wrestling wise.
Oh yeah, dude, my takedowns are, it's embarrassing that I have a black belt around my waist and my takedowns are terrible.
Do you just look at videos, or is there like a wrestling coach that you train with in Peru, or no?
Man, I would love, there's a guy, we have a wrestling class. And I used to go to that class, and I got some stuff from him. Shout out Jose Sarauz.
Shout out Jose.
Jose. That's his name, man.
Yeah, how would you translate
It's
that?
like that's his name, man. Justin, you're not woke, man. Pulling out the xenophobia.
Shut up.
Anyway, so I would train with him, go to his wrestling class and learn some stuff. But no, I just try to learn on my own. I had to just watch videos. What I started doing, it was really help. It sounds so dumb, and I felt so dumb. After like 6 months of trying to learn wrestling from guys who do jiu-jitsu, and I finally started watching videos of wrestlers.
Yeah.
You know, just with a
That makes
critical
sense.
eye.
Yeah.
Yeah. I started watching, and I remember like my
Like
double
John
stuff.
Cena, The Rock, like those guys
Yeah.
are lesser
Yeah,
known
and
ones.
The
Triple H,
Undertaker.
he's my favorite. Triple H has taught me so much. But no, I remember my double leg sucked, and I couldn't figure out why. And I just looked up double leg wrestling. And this guy named Justin Burroughs comes up, and he's this All-American. He's an Olympian, and just one video, and all of a sudden I figured out what's wrong with my double. I was like, holy crap. Because, there's different variations, just like in jiu-jitsu, on these techniques, and I found a variation that works for my body type. And it was just like, forehead slap moment.
The variation that works for me is sit on my butt and pull guard.
The old reliable man.
Yeah.
Now this is a moment for pulling guard, but you gotta up your game, man. You gotta learn how to take people down.
No, I know. I went through, and obviously I'm not like you. Like I'm a white belt at takedown, or like it's specifically wrestling too. Like, but I went through. I got obsessed with like a power double and just like whatever. I think power double or blast double. That I can hit fairly, but that's kind of all.
You
I
also had that like foot sweep where you would like into a single leg.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I probably don't do it anymore. Probably couldn't.
Yeah, you had a sweet blast double though. You took me down a couple times with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he only learned that because Keenan Cornelius started wrestling, and then Justin's like, "Oh, I need to learn that."
Yeah.
I'm right?
Well, kind of, but also like Drew was saying, I went through a period where I started. There's some guy on YouTube, some wrestler that puts out awesome like wrestling videos of like instructionals and stuff, and I watch some of those sometimes for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's missing in wrestling and jiu-jitsu in regards to instruction, and I don't know, any wrestlers, if any wrestlers listen to this podcast, feel free to contact me and let me know if I'm right or wrong, but it's the hand fighting. I didn't understand it, and no one that I had trained with really taught me how the positions of hand fighting. You have the basic tie-up, you have one hand behind the head and you have the other one, the bicep or the elbow, right?
Mm.
Well, that's like 50-50. That's why you get stuck there and you keep trying to hit doubles and singles and you never hit them because it's like 50-50. We have the exact same position. It's just whoever's faster and stronger and is gonna hit it. And so you start like, you learn you can get inside control. You put both two hands in the bicep and you have one hand in the bicep, one in the head, so having inside control. You can get an underhook, and have the head. You get an overhook and have the head. And these are all hand fighting positions, and you have to know how to maneuver between them safely and what takedowns you can do when between them. And so I didn't understand wrestling conceptually at all until recently. I had this like epiphany moment, and it came to me. And so I think I don't know, man. Maybe I can make a DVD one day, and say be the wrestling jiu-jitsu conceptual guy. I don't know.
Your name's gonna be Peru Drew.
Peru Drew, dude, with the slick Rick takedowns.
Yeah.
I need to patent that right now.
I just found a video where it's like it's kind of, it has a lot of cool stuff. I'll have to remember to send it to you, but it's kind of like wrestling for jiu-jitsu. It's a good video. Things I've never thought about before, and like concepts and stuff related to wrestling and jiu-jitsu.
Nice.
Real quick,
interested.
we only have like 5 minutes left before we have to go because we're actually going to train tonight, Nogi, and I haven't trained with
Oh,
Justin
nice.
in like 3 months, and I'm gonna tap that ass, dude. But is there anything you want to talk about before we go? I definitely think we should do another episode with you because I feel like unfortunately we started late because of Justin's inability to manipulate technology. But is there anything you want to talk about before we go?
I don't know.
No.
Maybe,
You're married?
So yeah, man, I am already married.
Okay. So did you guys just say screw the ceremony out there and just tied the knot or tied the vine or whatever you do in Peru?
It's a long, complicated story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah, we can talk about it on the next podcast. But yeah, we already got hitched. We already got the court wedding. And we were already engaged, and there's some circumstances that led to us getting the court wedding. And so since we were already engaged, we just said, yeah, let's just get the court wedding, and then we'll, we wait another year.
But you're gonna wait to consummate, right?
That's right.
Good. Because you got to get married in the church before you can do that.
One time I got close and felt her breath on me, and I got scared.
That's funny. All right, well, we'll wrap this up. Yeah, I'd like to talk to you about, because we have similar ideas on like developing a game and all that stuff, and kind of get more into the conceptual side of jiu-jitsu, I guess.
Oh yeah, man. We can talk jiu-jitsu all night. I miss this, guys. I miss you guys.
We miss you too, man. Lots of people were watching on Facebook Live too. Like a lot of our like Jacob
Hoffner said what's up.
Combo.
Andrew Combo said what's up. So
nice. Well, what's up to everybody? Everyone back home in Franklin or wherever you are in the States now. And my Gracie Baja family, what's up, guys?
Don't start crying. It's okay. You don't have to cry.
I might tear up a little bit, man.
All right, sweet. Well, yeah, let's definitely stay in touch, and maybe next week, or I think we could definitely do another hour, and talk to you, and hopefully we can see your beautiful face next time, because we have not been able to figure out how we're gonna do that yet.
It's not the same without seeing your guys' face.
So why can't you see our faces?
Because he has.
You guys have.
Oh, did I turn
the camera on, guys?
Oh.
Yeah, Justin's a fucking idiot. We could have been seeing you the whole time, dude.
Oh, yeah. I thought you had it turned on.
We've been talking for an hour and 20 minutes, and I finally see your faces. Yeah. I'll turn mine on. We can say goodbye properly.
Okay.
Kid classroom.
Oh, there you go.
Dude, sick, dude. You got a little classroom in there.
I have the world map that I'm supposed to be teaching in English, but the world map's actually in Spanish. You just can't see.
Now, is that an actual to scale world map? Because I saw a video online about how American maps are bullshit, and they make the white countries larger than the. I'm serious, dude. I saw a video about that.
I've heard. I don't know about connecting racism to map making.
Dude, it's 2018. Of course you can connect.
This map is super inaccurate. Apparently there's, because of satellite imaging.
Well,
much more. Accurate.
It is accurate in the sense that it's flat.
So it's right.
Yeah. Completely flat. I cannot reach China if I go that way. No way. No way.
No.
Yeah, no. All right, dude. We'll see you.
Appreciate it, bro. We miss you.
Appreciate it.
I'm sweating, dude. It is so hot in here. It smells like feet. Dude, get out of here on camera, bro.